The Astros ride dominant pitching from both their starting rotation and their bullpen to sweep the Philadelphia Phillies, who are coming in on an absolute heater on their season to this point. And somehow, and despite the Astros only scoring 5 runs across these 3 games, it was the pitching, like I had just said, that led the way in this series. But as little as I think there is going to be to talk about throughout this series, we're going to talk about it anyway. Here we go. How sweep it is. I didn't think I'd be able to say that as the Astros had swept the Philadelphia Phillies, who are arguably one of the better teams in the league, with their starting rotation being one of the best there is. And then their offense, of course, walking a lot and striking out very seldom, which that's also a very good combo. But despite that, the Astros held them to only just 1 run across these 3 games, which is absolutely insane. But again, the Astros offense did not do much better either, only scoring 5 runs across these 3 games, but it was enough to win all 3 games and complete the sweep. You guys know the deal. Hit the horn! Oh man, let's go. That feels good when having to do that to start one of these videos. Like I said, dominant pitching was the main storyline across all 3 of these games. Framber Valdez went 7 shutout innings in Game 1, though not to be outdueled by Ranger Suarez. If anything, I think he might have actually gotten the better of him throughout this pitcher duel, because he held the Astros hitless, through maybe 5 or 6 innings, and the Astros didn't even get their first hit until that inning on a Yainer Diaz base hit. But, overall, of course, it was a pretty good game. Cooper Hummel's 8th inning home run was the lone run that was scored in this game, and it was scored in the bottom of the 8th inning. And it was a pretty big moment for him, given how his career has really gone up to this point. He was with us in spring training and didn't make the team like the year before, and then was with us again this past spring, and then made the roster. I mean, although he has been bouncing back and forth between AAA and here, I would imagine, so far he has taken pretty advantage of it. And this is one of I think, the better moments in his career to this point. Josh Hader then in this game would nail down the save to complete the 1-0 shutout. Game 2 was more the same story. Colton Gordon pitched pretty good in this game. I mean, I guess he isn't as stretched out just because he's a rookie, but for the most part, he still pitched pretty good. He and 4 other lefty relievers would shut out the Phillies for the 2nd game in a row. This is the first time in franchise history they've used 5 lefties in a single game. They held Philly to just 7 singles and 0 walks in a 2-0 win on Wednesday night. So it was a pretty good night at the ballpark. The scoring started in the first for the Astros off of Phillies starter Zach Wheeler with an RBI single by Isaac Paredes to make it 1-0 Astros. That was the score going into the bottom of the 8th inning when Victor Caratini hit a towering home run onto the train tracks to give the Astros a little bit of insurance, especially for Josh Hader. Thankfully, he would not need it, as he would nail down his 20th save of the season, but he is now 1 save away from tying another Astros pitcher that for most consecutive saves. I can't remember who his name was, and that was a record that he had set back in maybe the 80s or something like that. But yeah, Josh Hader would nail down the save, like I had said, rather uneventfully, his 3rd save in the last 4 days. Personally, I am a little bit concerned about him, considering that we have honestly overused him quite a bit. It would really not shock me if the Astros would give him another night off in Friday's game against the Cubs. Going into the series finale, as if hope you guys are comfortable with me saying this, it's the same story as it was the past 2 games. Hunter Brown eerily matching Framber Valdez's performance, going 7 innings and striking out 9, which was absolutely amazing. Although a sac fly that was given up by Brian King in the 8th inning would unfortunately negate such an awesome start and would unfortunately prevent Hunter Brown from getting another win on the season. This, I think, is now, I want to say, his 2nd or 3rd straight start where he's thrown good, but the bullpen just couldn't quite pick him up. So it's a little unfortunate, but despite that, Hunter Brown leads the league in ERA on the season, which is just absolutely amazing. It's been near automatic for him to deliver such a superb performance. And speaking of the Astros, they have been absolutely killing it over these past 2 weeks. They've won 12 of their last 15 games. They lead the AL West as we speak right now by 6.5 games, with the Mariners losing earlier this afternoon against the Twins. They are now alone with the 2nd best record in the American League and tied with the 2nd best record overall with the Chicago Cubs, and then just 2.5 games behind the Tigers for the top seed in the American League. This is probably the best team this is the best that we have honestly seen this team in quite a while. After the monstrosity that last season was, it's crazy to think how much we have turned ourselves around compared to last year. I'm not saying that anything is won at the halfway point of the season, but I mean, so far the Astros are on a 96 win pace compared to before. After April, they were on a much smaller 81 win season pace. Which, I mean, at that point, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. But little did I know they would just go on an absolute heater. They are an MLB best 17-6 in the month of June, which, I mean, that's also amazing. Last season, they actually also finished with the best record in the month of June to pretty much keep their season afloat. And now it's the same story once again. So pretty crazy if you ask me. But diving straight into this game right here, Yonier Diaz got the scoring started for the Astros in the bottom of the second with an RBI single. That was, of course, like I had said, the score going into the eighth inning. With Brian King on the mound, unfortunately, that went the 1-0 lead. Although he was able to hold it on a Tuesday night's game, that was not going to happen today. As despite King giving up the go-ahead run, or the tying run rather, in the eighth inning, Cam Smith would play hero once again. As, I mean, it wasn't a walk-off base hit, but it ended up being the game winner with him hitting a go-ahead RBI single with 2 outs in the bottom of the eighth inning. That would eventually be the final score, as Brian Abreu, with Josh Hader getting the day off, would nail down the save to preserve the 2-1 Astros win. An absolutely dominant series against the Phillies, highlighted once again by our starting pitching, and led us to the series sweep. Hit the horn again, boys. Like I said, crazy series, despite how little offense that was, being showcased across the series for both sides. But, overall, I mean, wins are wins. We'll take any way we can get them. Next up for the Astros, this stretch is not going to get any easier. We've got the Cubs coming to town. I'm going to be at Saturday's game, so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to hope that I can go and see a win for once. But, I'm going to be excited. It's our first time seeing Kyle Tucker and Ryan Presley come to Houston since we traded them last winter. So, it should be fun. I wish I could go to Friday night's game, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to make it that evening. But I didn't want to be skipping out on a chance to see the Cubs, considering this was going to be their only time in Houston for the next 3 years. So, Saturday it is, I guess. That's going to do for this video, guys. Like I said, very awesome series. Hopefully we can keep this up because, like I said, the stretch is not going to get any easier. So if you like this video, drop a like. If you're subscribed, if you're new, if you want to watch any of my other videos, and click these cards here above my shoulders. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, like I said, and I will see you guys in the next one.